Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at one of the newest releases by the company Dua Fragrances, and this one is called Casino Tux, so make sure to stay tuned. So this fragrance was released in 2019, and of course, for those of you who are not familiar with this brand, as of late they have been creating a lot of hybrid fragrances, and so they'll take the DNA of other more popular and established brands, they'll sort of isolate certain ingredients from each one according to what it says on their website, and they'll fuse them together to sort of create a new fragrance, borrowing popular elements from other fragrances. Now I know the Aventus train has run quite long, and so they have Choco Poseidon, which I've also reviewed on my channel. They have Creed Aventus and Baccarat Rouge inspiration. They have a Creed Aventus and Virgin Island Water inspiration. This one in particular fuses Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Kurkdjian with Tuxedo by Yves Saint Laurent. So I was looking at the note breakdown and I was trying to see if there's a bit of a similarity between the two, and there really isn't. And I noticed that especially in the MFK fragrance, there are a lot of sweeter elements, and perhaps the only thing that I saw possibly unifying the two is the vanilla that is found in Tuxedo. Tuxedo has ambergris, violet, vanilla, patchouli. It's a rather classic masculine fragrance, something that you would probably wear when you're wearing a tuxedo. Now this one, on the other hand, it takes the best of both worlds in my humble opinion. It combines them for a new experience, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like their hybrids, because it provides us something that we haven't smelled before. And I'm all in favor of originality, of course. In full disclosure, I don't think this is 100% original because it does borrow elements from other fragrances, but ultimately I do think that this fragrance does smell good. I'm excited to tell you more about it. Let's start things off by taking a quick look at the presentation. So the presentation for this fragrance is rather nice. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. Just has this Arabic symbol here on the front, which means prayer, so it's pronounced dua. It opens up just like this and reveals a little bit of an informational segment here on the left-hand side. Feel free to pause your screen if you would like to read it. And then also the bottle sits in there very comfortably on the right. The side of the box kind of looks like the spine of a book and just has the concentration written on it. And the back of the box just has the ingredients written on it. So the bottle for this one just has a gentleman on the front with a cigar sticking out of his mouth. Kind of a funny graphic on this one. It says Casino Tux towards the bottom, and of course the gentleman is wearing a tuxedo in a casino. And then Casino Tux is also written on the side of the bottle right there. The cap for this fragrance does click into place very securely. You can pick this one up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer is nice and wide. Let's continue with the smell. So as soon as this fragrance opens up, you are going to be greeted with a very sweet aroma, and that is inevitably and undoubtedly coming from MFK's Baccarat Rouge 540. And I was always a fan of the original Casino Royale. You might have seen some other reviews and videos from other YouTubers on YouTube. They all speak quite favorably about it, and I would personally agree. I think that their Baccarat Rouge 540 clone is a really good inspiration. Of course, you always want to go with the original because the original has captive ingredients in it that will never allow other factories to duplicate it 100%, but for an inspiration, I think they did a pretty good job hitting it at like 90 or 95%. Once you put this on skin, you give it a chance to settle down, you'll have some of the other fresher, more masculine green elements start to come through. There's also a bit of like a salty, even aquatic overtone that starts to come through that I actually kind of enjoy, but it never veers fully in the direction of like an aquatic fragrance. So it's not overly salty or marine or anything like that, but it's a nice little accent to the composition. At times, however, I do feel that the sweet elements of the fragrance do overshadow those other green, leafy, herbal, and marine and aquatic elements. But ultimately, a lot of people who love Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge will wear it for those sweet elements. And that is precisely one of the reasons why I personally really enjoy this fragrance. So it comes across sweet, but it's a nice fragrance to wear when you want something sweet, but not as powerful of a sweetness as you would get in the MFK counterpart. So the cotton candy appeal is not that strong, the roasted tonka appeal is not that strong, but you do get a nice balance of the various elements. Now, truth be told, I love the YSL house, I love Kaftan, I love Tuxedo, I love so many of their offerings from that collection. Tuxedo is one of those fragrances that I never personally own, but whenever I would visit a friend's house, I always make sure to sneak a spray and sort of relive the experience, and I always really enjoyed the smell. Of course, it's never something that I imagine myself blending or layering with a different fragrance, but I do think that the combination of these two fragrances here actually does smell really, really good. I like their blend with Baccarat Rouge 540 and Virgin Island Water. I think that one actually came out rather nice, and I feel like the bright citrusy elements really clean up Virgin Island Water. In the case of this one, I do see the sweetness being sort of balanced out and unified because of the vanilla from Tuxedo, as I mentioned earlier. Overall, I think this is a really nice blend. If you had somebody smell it, you could fool them into thinking that this is a brand new fragrance, and not necessarily provoking that thought that, oh, is this a blend or a layer of something? Because to my nose, it didn't initially come across as something like that. But the more that I smelled it, I was like, oh, okay, there's Baccarat Rouge 540 in this one. I do urge you to go out there and at the very least sample it. I know Smells and Suds is a fragrance website that carries a lot of Dua samples. They don't update their inventory right away, so if something just came out on the Dua website, chances are you'll have to wait a few weeks before they carry it, so I don't know if they have it just yet, but if they do, I will leave all the links down below. Overall, I think this is a really solid hybrid. I'm happy that they're making these hybrid fragrances. I actually look forward to seeing what they're going to make in the future, and I just think it's a very fun and lighthearted concept. So thank you to the folks over at Dua for taking this fragrance thing and bringing it in a more fun direction and kind of taking the guesswork out of what fragrance would go well with another fragrance, and also a lot of the behind the scenes work that I'm sure happens in their factories with their chemists and stuff like that. So thank you for that. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, truth be told, I don't find this to be an ultra unique scent just because it does borrow elements from two other more popular fragrances, but the overall smell is incredibly pleasant, and as stated earlier in the review, I do feel as though this is a smell that could have fooled people into thinking that it's a brand new fragrance, not necessarily a layering of two other more popular fragrances. Longevity on this one was pretty good. I got about 7 hours. Projection was great for the first 2 to 2.5 hours. It wasn't until like the 6-hour mark where it became a skin scent, and I do think that a lot of that is because of the darker elements from Tuxedo, but also that sweetness that sort of lingers for a long time from the Baccarat Rouge 540. In terms of the versatility on this one, I think this one is cold weather appropriate. I also think, you know, Tuxedo, this one would work really well dressed up. I don't see this being a casual fragrance unless, of course, you buy it at a 20 or 25% off coupon, with a 25% off coupon, I meant to say, from Dua Fragrance's website, which they always run a promotion like that. And in that case, you can end up picking this one up for like 45 bucks or something for an extrait de parfum. So I do think it's a pretty good deal given the concentration of aromatic compounds in this one. So the versatility I feel is pretty good, but I would just wear this one in the colder weather, and I do find it to be perfectly unisex. As far as the presentation on this one, yes, it's a bit simple, but I would imagine that that also helps to keep the cost low. My final verdict on this one is if you are a fan of those two other fragrances that I mentioned, and maybe you can give them a try at home, layer each one, see what you think of that smell, but you want somebody to figure out the proportions perfectly, isolate certain ingredients in a laboratory, bring them back in together to create a brand new novel fragrance, I think that this is something really worth checking out, and try some of their other hybrids too. Again, that's not to guarantee that you're going to love all of them. You might end up picking one up and you're like, oh wow, I didn't really expect it to smell like that. But I think in terms of actually getting the fragrances down pat in terms of recreating the smell, I do feel as though they do a good job, and so that's the first step of the whole equation. Thank you for those of you out there who are watching this video, and a thank you to the company for providing me with this bottle for review. I really do appreciate that. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Casino Tux by Dua Fragrances. If you, owner, have tried this fragrance or any of their other hybrids, I would love to know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos, and please remember to enable notifications by clicking on the bell down there in the corner. This way, whenever I do upload videos, that push notification will get sent straight out to you. You never have to worry about missing any of my future content. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.